It's a cookbook. It's a cookbook. Soylent Green's people. What's up, Christmas nerds? It's your favorite Grinch, the OGGM, coming to you live with a headache because it's raining, sort of raining. I guess it's raining. It's California rain, so it's drizzling. We call it rain. Merchandising, where the real money is. Critical Role, the cookbook. Because apparently they haven't spread themselves thin enough. And at this point, guys, it's pretty obvious you are playing the let's just throw as much shit on the wall as we can and see what sticks game. And that never works. That never works, Critical Role. And is this the first Critical Role cookbook? I feel like there was another one. Anyways, everybody and their dog does these. These are all just, generic recipes that people find or they buy from, I guess there's like a recipe library where these guys just go and you can buy or rent recipes and then just use them in your cookbooks and then you flavor it to whatever. So obviously, Critical Role, everything would be themed around Critical Role stuff. So we would have like Jester's cupcakes. And all these are all like, here's a recipe that is be themed to a specific reason or a specific time or a specific creature. But they're pretty much just generic recipes you could find anywhere. Fried chicken with bacon gravy, sweet custard pie, cheese twists, hot chocolate bombs. And then it comes with art and things that the Critical Role people wrote and some other just generic stuff and some pictures. And like, here's one right here for a stew. And what are the ingredients? Mushrooms, bacon, sausage, more mushrooms, onions, carrots. What is this using for a base? Dried mushroom. Oh, and water. So it's a stew soup. You put these things in, you boil it, and you get like a stew soup kind of thing. And it's called Slayer's Take Stew, but it's just a generic beef stew recipe that they find, and then they theme. Because merchandising. So yeah, if you have a Critical Role fan in your life and they have every possible Critical Role themed thing you can think of, and you're like, well, what do I get them? But bam! You get them the cookbook, or better yet, you buy the cookbook and you make them the food. On the first day of Christmas, my Critical Role fan gave to me Jester's cupcakes. Yeah, it was probably $40? No price. I feel like there was one before. I feel like this isn't the first Critical Role cookbook, but whatever. And if the art and stuff looks familiar, yeah, I mean, this is exactly the same as pretty much the cover for the one that just came out from Wizards. And pretty much the exact same cover for like the Lord of the Rings one. I mean, it's just generic adventurers eating food, generic pictures from cookbooks. Here's another one of just adventurers. And well, actually, I don't know what this one has to do with food at all, except unless you count the cookies and the drinks in their hands. But here we go, just adventurers planning an adventure. And this is vaguely food themed, I guess. And that's it. I mean, anyways, thank you, ENWorld, for pointing this out to us. We'll probably bring it up again on Thursdays when we talk about Critical Role on Thursdays. But yeah, if anybody wants to add to the Critical Role is spreading themselves too thin theory, here we go. Now, probably the actual Darrington Press people had very little to this. I mean, maybe Taliesin contributed a recipe of something he makes or his mom made. Maybe, Marissa, here's my mom's recipe for beef stew, or I'm going to talk about what that one time I made scrambled eggs. I don't know. But yeah, cookbooks are pretty easy. because you just buy recipes from, I guess there's a recipe storehouse, and then you just theme the recipe to whatever your product is. So instead of it being just fried chicken or whatever, it's Wild Mount fried chicken and Jester's cupcakes. Wow, $5 from the Dungeon Delver. I don't know what thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know what happens to money when people give me super chats. But I appreciate it. I assume it eventually goes into my checking account, but I really don't know where it goes or where it's stored. It's a whole mystery. Fernelius Nullard, hello and welcome, new person. Thanks for stopping by. Peter Atkinson info yesterday. That wasn't yesterday, but yeah. And he didn't really say much. He just kind of said, when I did this, I felt really awful about it. And I hope Hasbro feels awful about it too, but I kind of think they don't. You know, that's a separate story. I think we've dug the Hasbro layoff hole as deep as we can, right? Is there anything else we could say? People are telling me that right before the layoff, the CEO got like a $2 million end of the year bump, which, you know, on one's is like, well, geez, you could spare $2 million for the CEO, but you couldn't spare $2 million to keep some of these guys employed. On the other hand, in the great scheme of corporate money, $2 million is pocket change. Yeah, if it's been like a 500 share bonus or a 20 million, that might have been, you know, like, oh, you could give him 20 million, but you can't waste 20 million on keeping people employed, but you still have Kyle Brinks and Jeremy Crawford. But 2 million, that's nothing. That's nothing to be that's like nothing. That's almost an insult for the year that they had. To give him $2 million is kind of just like, well, thanks for being here, Chris. I guess you did something. Here's $2 million. Go buy yourself a car or something. That's yeah. I think the Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro termination thing is dead because they managed to start a brand new thing with them using AI art again, which we'll bring up in a moment. But first, I wanted to point out the cookbook, because merchandising, where the real money is. And once again, yeah, just it feels like you're spreading yourselves too thin, Darrington Press, and just focus on one thing. But yeah, cookbook. What else you got to do? That's it. It's sad that people will lose their jobs. Yeah, they will. Some of them will find, you know, yes, for you or me, 2 million is a lot. For the CEO of a major billion-dollar company like Hasbro, 2 million is almost an insult. You know, when other CEOs are getting 20 million, 40 million, 500 shares, stuff like that, end of the year bonuses. 2 million in the great scheme of corporate is like almost like a attaboy. We got an extra 2 millions laying around. We could buy another photocopier. We could invest. You know what they should have done with the 2 million, right? Is get the machine to print the cards for Deck of Many Things, right? I mean, if you have the extra 2 million and you were just going to give it to Chris as an attaboy, then probably. Why not have spent that 2 million to get a machine that makes the cards for the Deck of Many Things? Because it's still delayed. It's still January something. I mean, right? That would make more sense to me, which is weird, again, because we know the cards are available in Germany. Because if you have like a VPN and you go to Amazon Germany, they have the cards for the Deck of Many Things. So it's weird that we don't have them in America because, you know, they can't find a machine that will print them out. Well, here's $2 million you're not doing anything with. You give it to your CEO, or you could have bought a machine that made the cards for the deck of many things, and then think of how much money you would have made selling the cards. And then you could have given the CEO like a $10 million bump because you would have made all that money off of the cards. But for some reason, I don't know, you're like, here, Chris, here's $2 million. Buy yourself a pair of socks or something. Because we can't find a machine that'll make the cards. But they're in Germany. I don't know what this has to do with cookbooks, but whatever. Cal says he won't buy the cookbooks. Yeah, why buy a $50 themed cookbook when you can get the exact same recipes online? They're not like it's, they're not really Jester's cupcakes, okay? They're not really cupcakes made by Jester, and they're not like a super special secret magic cupcake recipe. They're generic cupcakes. Merchandising, where the real money is.